What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, checking out some brand new Abyss Actor spells and traps that just got revealed. Looks like Sawatari is the final character that's going to be getting support in the Duelist Pack 20. If you guys don't know, Sawatari, he was a Lancer in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V, a prominent character, one of the protagonists. He was pretty much in the entire series from the first couple of episodes all the way until the very end of the show. He started off playing Yosenjus, then he went to Abyss Actors and he kind of stuck with that deck. Abyss Actors, if you don't know a ton, and I do not claim to be an expert, but I've played against it on my live stream a couple of times. I know that they don't really have any extra deck cards, but they are pendulum based. They have a wide variety of scales. They got some wide scales, some they're getting a 0 scale now, which is definitely good, and I think their scales go all the way up to 9, so you can pendulum summon a whole bunch of stuff in this archetype. Their spells are very similar to artifact cards, where you have regular effects of the spell cards, you can just activate them, but then if they're blown up by your opponent's card effects, then they get absolutely nuts. Like, you know how the artifacts summon themselves? These cards are like artifacts on crack, where some of them will let you draw until you have like 5 cards, other ones will let you add 2 Abyss Actor cards from your deck. So they all have like these crazy floating abilities. You just kind of need ways of getting your opponent to be dumb enough to blow up your own your set Abyss Actor, or excuse me, your set Abyss script spells. That's what they're called. The entire archetype is kind of designed after like a play, and they're, the monsters are actors in the play, and then the spells are kind of like scenes in the play, etc., etc. So let's go ahead and break down these spells and traps. 3 spells and traps to talk about, which I'll do in this video, and then the 2 monsters I'll talk about in tomorrow's video. So anyways, the first card, it's a quick play spell. It's called Abyss Script Romantic Teller. It's a hard once per turn that says return 1 Abyss Actor Pendulum monster you control to your hand. And if you do special summon 1 Abyss Actor Pendulum monster with a different original name from your face up extra deck in defense position. Effect number 2, if this set card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, and you have a face up Abyss Actor Pendulum monster in your extra deck, this is what I'm talking about, where they act like artifacts, you can set any number of Abyss Script spells directly from your deck to your spell and trap zone. So that obviously is ridiculous. If your opponent blind MSCs this card and it happens to be set, okay, you might end up going like +4 because you can literally just fill up your entire back row with Abyss Script spells. Now, you might not want to do that. You probably want to keep your pendulum zones open, but the potential is there for you obviously to plus like crazy off of this effect. This kind of seems like a pretty just neat utility effect. The fact that it returns a monster that's on the field to your hand, and then it lets you get one of your pendulum monsters out from your extra deck. I like the fact that instead of tributing, it actually returns to your hand, because then it allows you to basically still pendulum summon the monster that you returned, because if you do special summon a monster from your extra deck, chances are, unless you have a link monster on the field, it's going to be in your extra monster zone, so you wouldn't want to, tribute a monster and then not be able to summon that monster during that turn by pendulum summoning it. But with returning it to the hand, you can still do that, and obviously this can allow you to, dodge targeting and stuff. I really wish the monster was summoned in attack mode, because then you'd be able to do all types of like battle phase cheese with this card, where you'd be able to get like double attacks and whatnot, but can't have everything. I still think it's a pretty neat card. Next up, we have the Fantastic Field Spell. This card is amazing. It's called Abyss Playhouse Fantastic Theater. They even put fantastic in the name. It's a field spell. Both of the effects are hard once per turn. First effect is you can reveal 1 Abyss Actor Pendulum monster and 1 Abyss Script spell card from your hand. Add 1 Abyss Script spell card with a different name than the revealed spell from your deck to your hand. This is actually really good in my opinion. So I do understand you're giving your opponent a bunch of information. You can leave yourself open to Mind Crush and stuff like that, because you do have to show your opponent a spell and a monster, but you are going +1 with that. Your opponent is going to know the card that you search, but if they don't have anything to actually stop it, then what can they really do? And the fact is, you can use this every single turn. So if you can keep monsters and abyss spells in your hand, then basically this card can constantly pay for itself. Realistically, you're probably going to activate this card 2 times max, but the first time that you hard activate it on the field, you almost always should be able to activate that effect right away. So it is going to replace itself probably when you activate it like that turn. The second effect I think is amazing and really could do wonders for this deck. It says, while you control a pendulum summon Abyss Actor Pendulum monster, your opponent's activated monster effect becomes destroy 1 set spell/trap card your opponent controls. That is what this deck needed so much. So as I was talking about earlier, this deck, well, all the Abyss Script spells, they have those bonus effects where if they're destroyed by your opponent, they give you crazy effects, but your opponent's probably not going to just start blind MSing and blowing your cards up when they know they're playing against against Abyss Actors, but now you have a way of forcing them to do it. And what's really cool is this works during both players' turns. So even if you want to activate the first effect and you want to search a card, if your opponent is dumb enough to like Ash Blossom you or Droll Lockbird you after they activated it, that Droll Lockbird is going to have its effect turned into an MST. And if they hit one of your Abyss script spell cards, then obviously you're going to go plus out the wazoo. Now the thing is, it does negate whatever the first monster effect is that they throw at you, because the way I'm interpreting, the way I understand this card is it's not optional. So whatever that first effect they throw out there is, that effect is going to get changed. So your opponent can somewhat try to play around it, but I still like that effect that you now have a way to force your opponent to blow up your set, spell, and trap Abyss script cards, and that is amazing. Well, I don't think any of the Abyss scripts, like there are no Abyss scripts, trap cards, and even though I'm about to talk about a trap, it's not technically an Abyss script, but overall this is something that the deck needed. I kind of wish all the monsters had this, but maybe the deck will be broken at that point. I think you can actually, because of this card, you can up your Abyss script count as well in your deck. And I think that let me go ahead and pull the card up. The Abyss, the opening ceremony, is the card that it lets you draw until you have 5 cards. It isn't really that good. All it does is give you 500 life points for each Abyss actor monster you control. But if you can get your opponent to blow it up and draw 5 cards, like, that's obviously fucking amazing. You're probably not going to lose at that point. Anyways, last card, Abyss Actors Curtain Call, which I believe that, see, this is kind of alluding to maybe this could be the end of Abyss Actor support, because Curtain Call that's the end of the show. And in fact, even if you look at the artwork of Curtain Call, it shows, all the performers, it shows all the monsters in the archetype, like, when they go out there and they take a bow, like, hey guys, show's over, thank you for your applause. So this could be the last card that we see in the archetype. Normal trap card, that's a hard once per turn. If you activated an Abyss script spell card's effect this turn, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Abyss Actor Pendulum monsters. Also, add a number of Abyss Actor Pendulum monsters from your extra deck phase up to your hand, up to the number of Abyss script spell cards in your graveyard. Then you can special summon a number of Abyss Actor Pendulum monsters with different names from your hand up to the number of cards you added to your hand. So at first, this card was kind of complicated. I was like, damn, that's a whole lot to kind of take in. I don't really understand what the purpose of this card is, but really this card at its best could basically act as a pendulum summon, to be honest. Like, let's just say you only had one scale card and you just didn't have the ability to pendulum summon or something like that, but you did have this set and you happen to activate one of your Abyss script spells. Then as long as your graveyard is kind of set up nicely, like, this is not a card you probably want to have like turn 1, maybe not even turn 2, but if you have like maybe 3 or 4 Abyss spell cards or Abyss script spell cards in your grave, then you can add that many Abyss Actor monsters from your pendulum zone, or excuse me, from your extra deck to your hand, and then you can special summon a bunch of them with different names. So if you added 4, you'd be able to special summon 4 Abyss Actors from your hand with different names, and at that point, that basically is a pendulum summon. That is, potentially gonna OTK your opponent. So this card could be very explosive. I just don't see it being that good in the first 2 turns, because your graveyard's probably not gonna be set up all that well for you to get more than 3 cards tops with this. Like, I don't really see you getting more than that, but I think that this Abyss Actor stuff is really interesting, and I think this field spell definitely makes the deck kind of come online. Not just the fact that it searches, but the fact that it can kind of block out like really annoying monster effects and then turn those monster effects into an effect that helps you even more. Like, that's pretty good, man. Think about how many Yu-Gi-Oh decks, like, they need that first monster effect to be like, that normal summon Candina, and stopping that can be pretty damn huge. So whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, turn on that notification bell for daily videos, and of course I will cover the monsters as well tomorrow.